The 1971 Oakland Raiders offense was high-powered and out of sight. They scored the second most points in the NFL to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys won the Super Bowl, but the Raiders didn't even make the playoffs. This video will feature three main reasons why that happened. Pete Banaszak rushed for 8 touchdowns in 1971 and didn't care who got in the way. In Week 1, the Raiders traveled to Foxborough, Massachusetts to face the newly renamed New England Patriots in their brand new stadium, Schaefer Stadium, which held a little over 61,000 spectators, which is about 24,000 more than the Boston Patriots played in front of sold-out Harvard Stadium in Boston. The Raiders were 14.5-point favorites against the Patriots, who were starting rookie quarterback Jim Plunkett, who had won the Heisman Trophy the year before. After a scoreless first half, they scored 20 unanswered points. Ron Sellers hauled in this 33-yarder, and Plunkett averaged 21 yards on his 6 pass completions on the day. The Patriots stunned the Raiders 20-6, as Raiders quarterback Daryle Lamonica only completed 9 of 23 passes. Backup quarterbacks George Blanda and Ken Stabler fared even worse. The Raiders were 14-point favorites against the Saints in Week 8. Rookie quarterback Archie Manning completed 1 of 2 passes before he left the game in the second quarter after being shaken up. Unfortunately, the Raiders' Willie Brown caught that pass. Daryle Lamonica and Fred Biletnikoff connected on a 42-yard touchdown. Pete Banaszak bowled his way into the end zone. The Lamonica-Biletnikoff combination struck again to give the Raiders a 21-7 lead in the fourth quarter. But then the ball started to bounce the Saints' way. With 3 minutes and 9 seconds remaining, Bob Gresham scored a touchdown. On the ensuing kickoff, running back Don Highsmith, a 1970 13th round draft pick out of Michigan State, coughed up the ball. Number 58, Greg Slough, picked it up, then coughed it up himself. Tight end Dave Parks took a hard hit from Jack Tatum but still held on. With 8 seconds left, Ed Hargett's 10-yard pass to Parks and the subsequent successful extra point resulted in a 21-21 tie game. The first reason that the Raiders didn't make the playoffs was their inability to beat teams that they were heavily favored to defeat. The Saints had 26 first downs to the Raiders' 13, and the Saints had 373 total yards to the Raiders' 240. Ed Hargett had only completed 31 of 73 passes entering this game, a 42% completion rate. In this game, however, he was 14 of 27 for 170 yards, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions. The 5'11", 185-pounder from Texas A&M was the 16th round draft pick by the Saints in 1969. Center Jim Otto was one of 5 future Hall of Fame offensive linemen on the 1971 Raiders roster. Massive tackle Bob Brown was one. Fellow tackle Art Shell was of similar size, around 6'5", 275 pounds. Backup tackle Ron Mix was traded to the Raiders from the Chargers in 1971 for defensive back Dave Grayson, and guard Gene Upshaw played in 3 Super Bowl games in 3 different decades. On this play, number 63, Upshaw runs down defensive back John Outlaw, nicknamed Little John, due to his 5'10", 180-pound frame. Upshaw was a tremendous pulling guard who often intimidated opponents. The score was 17-6 Atlanta in the third quarter when LaMonica and Biletnikoff completed a 30-yard scoring strike. But the story of the game was the Falcons stopping the Raiders 3 times inside Atlanta's own 10-yard line and causing Oakland to turn the ball over on downs in that same area of the field. This Tom Hayes 60-yard fumble return for a touchdown was the first score of the game and one of 5 turnovers committed by the Raiders. Marv Hubbard carried the ball 26 times for 143 yards, but took this big hit by John Small, who is anything but small at 6'4", 269 pounds. Atlanta quarterback Bob Berry had a very good day as he completed 12 of 18 passes for 220 yards and a 103.9 passer rating. Ken Burrow hauled in this 47-yard completion. Art Malone blasted his way into the end zone to complete the scoring in a 24-13 Atlanta win. This, like the Saints game, was one that Oakland failed to defeat a team whose quarterback was only 5'11" and 185 pounds. Bob Berry was the Eagles' 1964 11th round draft pick and the Broncos' 1964 26th round draft pick. In 1969, Berry made the NFL All-Star team when he threw 10 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, and 1,087 yards in 7 games played. The year before, he was sacked 24% of the time that he dropped back to pass. Atlanta's head coach Norm Van Brocklin said after the game, "If you play good defense, you always got a chance to win." Marv Hubbard didn't like the play calling during the Oakland drives inside Atlanta's 10-yard line. He said, "I think the running game was going so well we should have run the ball near the goal line. The off-tackle play is what we should have tried. I asked for the off-tackle play near the goal line several times and was ignored." The Raiders were 3-point favorites at home in Week 11 against the Super Bowl defending Baltimore Colts. Oakland ran the ball 25 times for only 65 yards. 38-year-old quarterback John Unitas was coming off a torn Achilles tendon injury, and he instituted a highly effective ball control offense. He completed 10 of 16 passes while the Colts rushed 39 times for 210 yards and 4 touchdowns. At the end of the third quarter, the score was 30-0 Colts. Daryle Lamonica had a miserable game. He completed 8 of 18 passes for 89 yards, no touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Raiders head coach John Madden talked it over and pulled LaMonica for old reliable George Blanda, who completed 14 of 23 passes for 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The Colts thumped the Raiders 37-14. Per ProFootballReference.com, Fred Biletnikoff's best season of his 14-year career was 1971. He had an approximate value of 15. His next best season was 1972, when his approximate value was 12. Freddie B is one of 8 Hall of Famers on the 1971 Raiders offense. He had twice as many catches as the next Raiders receiver, Raymond Chester, and 5 times as many catches as the next Raiders wide receiver, Rod Sherman, who only had 12. Here's 2 of Freddie's 8 catches for 148 yards in Week 5's 34-10 win over Philly. The second glaring reason for Oakland failing to make the playoffs is quarterback Daryle Lamonica''s dramatic fall from being a top-flight quarterback. He started 13 games but only threw for 1,717 yards. That's only 122.6 yards per game. From 1967 through 1970, he threw for over 3,000 yards each year. In 1971, he had 16 touchdown passes and 16 interceptions, a 1-to-1 ratio. But from 1967 through 1970, he threw 111 touchdown passes against only 75 interceptions, a 1.48-to-1 ratio. So in 1971, he experienced about a 50% decrease in this important ratio. John Madden turned to George Blanda in 5 games to replace an ineffective LaMonica. He completed 55% of his passes with 4 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Blanda had finished in second place in the 1970 NFL MVP vote. At age 44, he was still the team's kicker, a position that he would hold for another 4 seasons before finally hanging up his kicking cleats at age 48. Eldridge Dickey is the first black quarterback drafted in the first round in the history of the AFL or NFL. He was the Raiders' first pick in 1968 out of Tennessee A&I State University and was known for his accurate ambidextrous throwing ability. After his initial preseason, the Raiders converted him to wide receiver. He only caught 1 pass in 1968 and did not play at all in 1969 and 1970. In 1971, he caught 4 passes, and this, his only NFL touchdown. Ken Stabler was the Raiders' 1968 second-round selection from Alabama. He was nicknamed Snake by his football coach in high school after a long and winding run. He had knee surgery in 1968 and spent the season on the taxi squad. In July 1969, he retired because he wasn't enjoying his time as a Raider. After not playing at all in 1969, he threw 7 passes in 1970. In 1971, he had a much sunnier disposition. In Week 2, he rushed for the first of 4 touchdowns in his 15-year NFL career. Week 7's game against the Chiefs had a Las Vegas betting line of pick'em. Superstar wide receiver Otis Taylor had the game's longest play from scrimmage, this 50-yarder. Ed Podolak barreled into the end zone to give the Chiefs an early lead, and middle linebacker Willie Lanier intercepted this Darryl LaMonica pass. Kansas City had 18 first downs to Oakland's 19. Kansas City had 248 total yards to Oakland's 252, and both teams turned the ball over 2 times. LaMonica was 10 of 22 for 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 sacks. His passer rating was a low 25.2, so Blanda was called into duty again with 8 minutes 50 seconds remaining with the Raiders down by a score of 20-10. He hit Biletnikoff on a 24-yard score and kicked an 8-yard field goal to tie the game 20-20. In this game, Blanda broke the all-time career point scored record that was held by Lou the Toe Groza. Blanda scored 1,609 points to break the record and scored 593 more before he retired. In Week 13 in Kansas City, the Chiefs were 4-point favorites. One player stood out as the game's most valuable player, and that was the Chiefs wide receiver Otis Taylor, who caught 8 passes for 113 yards, or 57% of Len Dawson's total on the day. The Dawson to Taylor 29-yard score was the first of the game. The Raiders' Marv Hubbard ran 21 times and chewed up 77 yards and scored on 2 one-yard touchdown runs. LaMonica crumbled under the Chiefs' pass rush, completed 5 of 9 passes for 36 yards, and was again replaced by George Blanda after the Raiders fell behind 10-0. Blanda hit on 12 of 22 passes for 94 yards and 2 interceptions. With the score 14-13, Kansas City's final drive of the game included Dawson to Taylor pass completions of 16, 9, 15, and 4 yards, as well as a critical Raiders pass interference call on number 20, Jimmy Warren, who had intercepted 2 passes during the regular season and returned both for touchdowns totaling 114 yards. With 1 minute 34 seconds remaining, Jan Stenerud's 10-yard field goal won the game, 16-14. The third reason that the Raiders didn't make the playoffs was their inability to beat the Chiefs. Kansas City won the AFC West Division with a 10-3-1 record, while Oakland's 8-4-2 record was behind Baltimore's 10-4 record, which gained them the wild card entrant to the playoffs.